Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Joel?
I'm doing well. I'm a little sweaty from our little cardio session that was like 10 seconds long, but
It's longer than we usually do. It's good. You know, get the blood flowing.
yeah, that's what I love about our Friday mornings, aside from doing this with you, of course, is this is my workout for the week, that 10 seconds. It's pretty freaking awesome.
We've got to up our game then for maybe next week.
Do we though?
Maybe a little choreography.
Oh.
The lip. Always the lip.
So how was your week? What's new? What's the word?
Well, word on the street, we have been really busy doing, we just completed a couple virtual events that we were working on. So we were doing some filming for that, whether that be like the commercial sponsorship reel side, or all these like little elements, you know, that we weave together for the big live show. So that's been good. We've been keeping ourselves busy. You know, I'm curious to see what happens in the next couple months. Hoping for the best as we begin to slowly open up. But, you know, everyone, we want to be safe and not get ahead of ourselves at the same time. So day by day.
Well, that's good. You got to remain cautiously optimistic, shall we?
I like that. Cautiously optimistic. How are you doing? How is the desert?
The desert is very well. The desert is doing well. I cannot complain. It's been a very busy week. I brought a house out like a little over a week ago, and 13 offers later, we're in escrow and we're moving forward on it at a breakneck pace. So everything's been great. So it's been a really good, busy week, but I like to be busy. So that's good. You know, I can't complain. But I'm really excited to hear that virtual events that are still on par. I think it's going to be interesting going forward. Been talking to a few people, like with the Boys and Girls Club of Venice, because I'm on the board there. I think we're planning our future gala, and the plan is hopefully we're going to be able to do a hybrid event where we maybe have some in person, some virtual. We don't know yet, because that's the world we live in.
We just don't know. Well, you know where to find me.
Exactly.
I'm excited though. We gave a little bit away last week. I know you've got a longtime friend coming on.
Yes.
Tell us who we have with us today.
Well, I'm not going to say long time because that kind of would give away our age, and we're not going to do that one. But we've known each other since college. Again, I won't say when that happened, but we'll just say it's already happened. So I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. It is Wendy Nystrom. She is the Rock Doctor, and we do a video blog that she puts together on environmental social justice. Welcome, Wendy.
Good morning. I am so excited to be here today. I've been watching your show for like the past year, so this is really exciting for me.
This is our 21st episode. We're like 21 now. We're all,
you can drink.
We're legal drinking age.
We totally should have had like mimosas for this one to celebrate our 21st.
You know, I would have done it.
Wendy, where were you when we were planning this?
You guys didn't ask.
So welcome to the show, Wendy. I know you've been a longtime viewer, which is awesome. We love that you're on every morning or every Friday. You've been giving
every Friday. Thank you guys.
So we've known each other since college. Again, I will not say what year that was, but
Wendy might.
What's that?
Wendy might.
I may.
She better not. But so we both went to Boston University. You studied for
geology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, now, growing up, I just have to ask this was the question that popped into my head yesterday as we were getting ready for this one was, so when you were a kid and everybody's out there playing with their toys and all this kind of stuff, did you happen to go like, oh, that's great, but look at this rock?
Yeah. My dad had a rock tumbler. When we lived in Connecticut, he had a rock tumbler, and he would go out in the backyard, grab some cruddy rock, tumble it, and it would be like this beautiful polished stone. And then my first geology class was the 8th grade. I went on many geology field trips in high school, and it's something that just came really easily to me. So at Boston University, I was one of the first to do a bachelor's, master's combined degree in the geology earth sciences department, focusing on geochemistry.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations.
So really what I got from that is you like pretty rocks. That's really
love pretty rocks. I still have the one you gave me. You gave me a mineral of malachite. I think it was my 20th or 21st birthday.
Oh God, I remember that now. Oh wow.
Yeah, still have it.
Do you have a big rock collection? Do you collect rocks? Tell us about this.
It's dwindled. So I stopped counting my move. When I hit my 25th move, I stopped counting. I moved a lot. And when you carry a box of rocks and the movers look at you like, oh, what do you got there? Box of rocks? Yes, I do. So it's dwindled. It's now a much smaller box of rocks, mostly minerals. But I used to have amazing, like really great schists and gneiss, but no, they're gone.
You ever have a My Pet Rock?
No, I did not have a pet rock.
Then you're not into rocks. I'm sorry. It's just like posing. Like if
Well, you just put googly eyes on a regular rock and you're good to go.
What is your favorite type of rock?
Oh Lord. I'd have to say gneiss. It's GNEISS. It's a metamorphic rock. So think of granite that's been heavily squished together and has these beautiful bands that kind of wave through it. And sometimes you get garnets because they're very strong. So they'll be still in its solid form, or other porphyroblasts, which just mean rock that doesn't mush. So yeah.
You brought up granite. So I know, like, obviously, granite for a long time. We're going to get on the environmental side of things really quick.
We'll get
Not really quick. So granite became really popular for kitchens. I mean, I think it's kind of phasing itself out. But like for a minute there, everybody had to have granite everything.
Yeah.
But that's really bad for the environment. Correct me if I'm wrong.
In what sense?
The mining of it, like to actually get it out. Like that was.
Mining overall is not great. I mean, this is just pulling out the hard rock. So you're not leaching anything out. So when you mine for minerals, you usually use acids to leach out the mineral that you want out of that, like gold or silver or nickel. Lithium's different. Sorry, let's not talk about that. And so you're leaching things out. You have something called acid mine drainage.
Okay. That's
really bad. Pulling rock out of the ground for a countertop, the big issue people had was they were afraid of radon gas, because radon gas is an off gas or a daughter cell of granite. It's such a small, tiny thing that's released. And it's usually an open air kitchen. If you're locked in your basement with it, you might have a problem with no air circulation. But you're in your kitchen and it's really not going to be that big of a deal.
Okay, so actually one of our viewers, Stephanie Davis, is one of your cohorts right now because she just says she has a rock collection too. Oh my gosh, another one has a rock collection. This is just, guys.
Rocks rule.
We're going to have a chat afterwards about that.
Everyone's going to come out. Please share your photos, send them to Wendy of your rock collections. She wants to see it. She'll tell you everything about what they are.
I'll try. I've had people send me a picture of a rock saying, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know.
That's hysterical. I never would have thought that a rock collection would have been like the hot thing for people to do. You learn something every day. You really do. I mean, that's awesome. Sorry.
That's okay. Speaking of learning, I was just going to say, Wendy, can you please, for everyone watching, put to bed all of the misinformation out there with what's going on in the environment and sustainability?
Oh, that's broad. So I host a webcast called Environmental Social Justice, and I do it with Joel. And it's basically a weekly webcast. And we talk about renewable energy, technology, social justice, environmental justice. But one of the topics I've been focusing on a lot lately is greenwashing. So for people who don't know what greenwashing really means, is when a company says we're going to be carbon zero by 2035, but they don't have a plan. They don't explain how. That's just telling the world what they want to hear, but not explaining how you're going to get there. And we're seeing a lot of that because everyone's talking about something called environmental social governance, or ESG. And that's where you report in your company and you say, your corporation, your bank, your financial institution is going to be focused on ESG. But they're not putting the right people in place. So they're putting economists in place, financial advisors in place, but no one with an actual environmental background. So then you have something called unintentional greenwashing. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they want to lie to you. It's they just don't know any better. They don't know the true value of sustainability. And sustainability is an extraordinarily nebulous, broad term. It can mean, people talk about circular economy, meaning taking a product such as plastic and trying to bring that full circle, reuse it, repurpose it, recycle it. Problem is most plastics are very poorly recyclable. We don't really use them. Fishing nets are a big issue in our oceans. We gave up straws, which I'm all for, no need for a straw. But it counts for such a small percentage of what's in the ocean. It's usually the fishing nets. So we need to start rethinking how we do things. So instead of plastic fishing nets, maybe we go back to the rope. Maybe we find something else, maybe something just as durable as plastic that hasn't been created yet. We just have to constantly evolve our thought process And the whole point of the show is no shaming, no blaming, and every little bit helps, because personally, I was tired of people yelling at each other and shaming each other and saying, how dare you? It should be, you don't understand it? That's okay. I get it. I didn't understand it either. And this is how you learn, and you support and you encourage. So if there's one message I'm trying to get across, is learn, it's okay.
And it doesn't have to be huge things. I mean, that's one thing that we talk about on the show, which we're going to get back to some other stuff as well. But like on the broadcast, we always talk about nothing has to be a huge lifestyle change right away. You don't do the full 180. It's about like starting small and kind of going from there. But it's funny that you mentioned recycling, because every time we talk about like, you know, recycling of plastic bottles, there was an episode of the date of last week tonight, a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the plastic bottles, and really they can only be recycled one time. And so after that, they just kind of go into a landfill, because they don't have an infinite lifespan. Like you just kind of can't keep going with these products. So it's just kind of funny that I think I don't know, that was one thing that I saw. That was actually, if anybody hasn't seen that episode of last week tonight, go check it out. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They did a whole thing on it. It was fantastic.
There are about 8 or 9 different kinds of plastics based on how they're manufactured. The most common is what we see for plastic bottles. And those can be recycled, melt down, and reused about, I think it's 5 times before they completely degrade. And then the single-use plastic bags are useless. I mean, some people are trying to figure out and working on new technology, but for the most part, they can't be recycled. They can't be used for anything. They end up in landfills. So that's why we need to kind of rethink what we use. And there are many companies coming up with honest, true biodegradable plastics, meaning it's not petroleum based. A lot of people who say recyclable plastic, it actually really isn't. You want something that's either made from cactus leaves. You can make them from mushroom. There's a company that's working with algae, byproduct of algae. You feed that algae some carbon dioxide, it belches out some polymers, makes really good tough plastic. And that's a new technology coming out. So there are new things being developed every day.
That is so awesome. That is so fascinating. Do you have like personally any favorite either reusable or sustainable tools, just like in terms of packaging or what you do in your daily life?
I try to stay away. I mean, I don't really ship anything really anymore. I mean, packaging, I think the coolest technology I learned of was there's a company that has packaging made from mushrooms. So we're not thinking like the cat mushrooms. It's actually the mycelium, I think is the terminology, that's underneath the ground. And they mass produce that and they grow it into the shape of the packaging you need. And then you can just throw it in your back garden and it completely decomposes. It's amazing.
Pretty cool.
And it's just all this new stuff that people are now thinking, okay, we need to start rethinking how we do stuff. We can't have the cheap and easy, because the more we produce this mushroom product, it'll be cheaper as we get used to it. And we just have to adapt.
I mean, everything gets easier as we adapt to it. I mean, I remember when they were getting rid of the plastic bags, people were like, going, oh no, what are we gonna do without a plastic bag? And now everybody goes like, ah, crap, I forgot to grab the bags out of my car. Let me go turn around, you know? And so it's just kind of like our behaviors change and how we view things, which is just human nature. We all get kind of stuck in our ways. I personally never do, but some people do. And so, you know, it's actually kind of fun to watch people evolve and change, as you just sort of have to. I mean, we can't.
And it's the little steps.
Yeah.
Little things.
Yeah. So we're here for the chamber, LAX Coastal Chamber, everybody's favorite chamber. How tell us about your involvement, what all of the stuff that you do with the chamber, what you're getting from it, like tell us about that.
Well, you brought me into the chamber, and with your sales pitch that it's a cult, drew me right in. Had to come.
Christina, if you're watching this, she's rolling her eyes and I can hear them being rolled. So that's awesome.
But it's such a welcoming group. I mean, I've gone to so many networking events and other chambers, and these guys are immediately like, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Let's introduce you to people. And everyone's welcoming and they want to know you and they want to know about you. And being like the resident dirt person, usually it's kind of people avoid you. Or my background's insurance, environmental insurance. The second you say the word insurance, people run. Yeah. So the fact that, I'm kind of like this boring dirt girl who worked in insurance, everyone was welcoming. I've volunteered for as many things as I possibly could when we got to see people in human form. I would do anything for these guys. I mean, they asked me you want to jump in on something? Absolutely. You want me to help you out with something? I mean, it's without question.
See, I've always told Wendy that we got to work on the sales pitch, like the boring dirt girl who does insurance.
I was
Really
like,
not the best way to introduce yourself.
yeah,
Like,
I was like, we could reframe that just a little bit with more of a positive spin, you know?
It's
I don't
dirt
think
and
it's
rocks.
boring at all.
just a snitch.
It's
Yeah.
gotten more interesting, I have to say. I mean, people are beginning to embrace the environment the way they never did before.
Yeah.
Before it was more of a nuisance, like in the 70s and the 80s, people were like, yeah, we've been hearing about it. I think people are now recognizing that we do have an issue at hand.
Mhm.
Which I think that mostly comes from the, if I can put it this way, the younger generation, because they're actually focused on, they want to get older and not have to live like we're in the movie Wall-E, where you're on a ship floating around. We just become these gelatinous masses.
Mhm.
So I think they actually want the world to get a better place. And I think that's one of the benefits of social media, is that we're able to talk about things and it's in our face a bit more, and you cannot escape the issues that are happening.
Yeah.
And we've done some damage.
Mhm.
I mean, it's this vicious cycle where people said, oh, well, I don't really see climate change being a problem. Like more storms, storm surges, more violent tornadoes,
Heat.
drier seasons, wildfires. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's hot.
And I know too, I'm just curious to get your opinion in terms of like air pollution, because I know that we did see a shift at the very beginning, of the pandemic, or maybe midway, when there was less traffic, less cars, less everything happening, and how that just, even in that short amount of time, had a big impact on the environment. I was wondering if you could explain that a little bit more.
It gave us an immediate, visible acknowledgement. So in Los Angeles, we saw there was less traffic and we could actually see that difference. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while, but I believe when the pandemic first started, many manufacturing facilities worldwide shut down.
Mhm.
People went home. And that's why we kind of had that little hiccup in appliances and manufactured goods. And then those countries, specifically areas in China, they had clear air for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we've got to visually see that. Now, mind you, upper atmosphere pollution sticks around for a very long time. But this was something that could prove, hey, if we fix the way we do things, renewable energy. Joel and I have talked about this extensively. I don't understand people who say, I'll never give up petroleum. What do you love about exhaust fumes? Please tell me. I would love to know. I mean, there's so many alternatives. There are other things you can do with petroleum. I've talked to people in the industry and they said, we're just going to focus, instead of burning the fossil fuels, making products out of them, because that eliminates 90% of that damaging off gas. Great. We have wind, we have solar, we have geothermal. There are multitudes of things we can use. Let's focus on that, because we now know the immediate effects. So let's not go back to the way we used to do things because it was easy. Let's focus on new technologies. And it's not as hard as it used to be. It's gotten so much easier in the past 5-10 years alone that this is to me a no-brainer.
Love that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting people to, sorry, I think it's like, we've talked about this numerous times on the ESJ, Environmental Social Justice podcast. It's about getting people to think differently. And, we're in California where things are drastically different, and we have a very different outlook than certain parts of the country do. As far as, we're fine with the windmills, we're fine with going really green. We're kind of our leaders in a lot of that sense, or at least the state is. They try to be. I mean, we're getting zero emission cars by 2035. Like, you're not going to be able to sell anything that's non-electric brand new. I think it's 2035.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of initiatives, and I won't get on that one. But but it's about trying to get. It's really hard to get people to adapt to that degree, because there's so many remaining questions, and it's lifestyles and it's generational changes that you have to go through, and that's a really difficult thing for people to come to terms with.
Well, some people feel that they don't want to be dictated to or told what to do.
Right.
And I understand that and I respect that. This isn't, I don't see the harm in trying to change. I don't see this as forcing something negative onto somebody. I think that I'm sorry?
It's the presentation.
We do need to work on presentation. I think
Alternative.
it is an alternative. We recently spoke to a guy from SoCal Gas, and they're really focused on hydrogen. And the fact that they're completely rethinking the way that their business has been, 100 years now, maybe more, that all of a sudden they're like, you know what, we're going to start focusing on green hydrogen, where they use excess electric energy that we were paying Arizona to take it off our hands, or dumping it. because we couldn't store it properly. And that's meaning the state of California. So they're taking that excess and they're creating hydrogen gas, which can be stored indefinitely. So brilliant.
Yes.
This is like one of the most like in-depth conversations we've ever had on a Binge Live. Like, I mean,
I know. I love what I do.
I love this. I was just like, lay it on me, you know.
And I love the education aspect. This is, who knew that I would love it, you know, educating. But it's like explaining to people that, you know, you can do this. You don't have to go turn your, you know, create an organic garden and compost every day. You know, it's okay. Just learn how to, you know, most pesticides are petroleum based. Maybe don't use it.
Yeah.
Fertilizers, I'm sorry, most fertilizers are petroleum based. It's just little bits of.
I've got to ask too, speaking of petroleum and things we do not know, are there a couple things just right off the bat that are unknown or that we don't think about that we are unnecessarily contributing to pollution into the environment?
There's a lot, I would say, to use a broad stroke, consumption. We consume a lot of energy, materials, items. Like if you think about a 1970s refrigerator, that thing wouldn't die. That thing lasted forever. Now our appliances are like, oh, maybe we'll get good 5 years out of it before we have to get a new one. Why is that? Because they want to sell more. People want to buy the next new thing. You want the next fashion. You know, fashion is, people are definitely fixing that, but fast fashion was a problem, or still is a problem rather. And just, you know, one of the best things I learned when I first started studying sustainability was knowing what is enough. Knowing when you had enough. It's not a competition. You don't have to show off to people. You don't have to be better than the next guy. We're all in this together. What's enough?
So it's kind of like going to a buffet. Know when you've had enough, is what you're saying.
You don't need the 7 trays of shrimp. Fill up your one, you're good.
But if you're at a Vegas buffet, like that's a whole nother story because, yeah. Sorry, I'm going to totally segue into food because I'm hungry apparently.
Are you hungry right now?
Usually. That's okay though. And just totally
really, I know we're also supposed to move on to the next segment, but I really just want to know too. I know that in terms of eating, speaking of food, in terms of like going vegetarian or all of these meat alternatives, Beyond Meat, and all of this that's becoming very popular, can you tell us, is this good for the environment?
So I can't speak too in-depthly on Beyond, or like Impossible Burgers, Beyond Meat, you know, synthetic meat. The whole thing with that is, and I've gotten people screaming at me online because people love to scream at you online. I don't know why.
All caps.
Yeah, all caps, and you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, educate me, talk to me, don't scream at me, talk to me. But with the alternative meats, the only issue I have is they're saying, well, it's pea protein. So you're taking a pea plant and making it taste like a burger that bleeds. I don't know how you get from point A to point B without a lot of chemistry involved.
It's salt.
And salt. And it's that chemical process that I don't know the long-term effects of that. I mean, it may be harmless, it may be fine, I don't know. So I can't answer intelligently to that one. With respect to eating meat, I know there are some people who are strict vegans that say you cannot call yourself an environmentalist if you eat meat. I think that's subjective. We eat too much red meat, or meat in general, as Americans, humans. We could probably benefit from more salad. That being said, a lot of the alternatives out there for vegans, like vegan cheese, you know, again, chemical process, and also the carbon footprint of manufacturing that and transporting it. So if you are a meat eater, try to do local, try to do pasture raised, grass fed. The grain industry, you know, that they feed cows and animals, not great. So try to focus on the better alternatives of being more natural and knowing where it comes from.
Well, you know what's really cool though is that it was just brought up to us in the chat is that so Beyond Meat, which I've had before, and I actually do think it's really good. It's actually based here. It's based there in El Segundo. Like they're actually local, which is really kind of cool. And they've kind of really been. I'm not trying to plug one product because I am a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. But you know, so the products have gotten a lot better tasting as well. Like I remember, you know, vegetarian cheese used to be just like this grainy, nasty stuff.
Oh, I remember.
It was bad. It was just not good. But that's actually come a long way. So the products have gotten to be much better as well. And the variety and the options that are out there, whether it's, you know, Beyond Meat, Gardein, Morningstar, there's so many different brands and they're all trying to do different things. But as far as the red meat goes, I mean, you can look at the studies, like that's actually been in the news not too long ago about like if people were to transfer and stop eating as much red meat, the impact it would have environmentally is pretty incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
But also how they're raised. So when you talk about
Okay.
grain-fed cattle and the methane that they give off, that's a big issue. Whereas if you had them grass-fed, or there's a study on seaweed. Seaweed would remove 90% of that methane off gas.
Oh, wow.
So it's what you feed them. Grain is cheap and easy. Grass is kind of hard because these pastures, when they say pasture raised, it's usually dirt.
Yeah.
And they're mud. So it's not a happy little cow frolicking in the field. Very different scenario, and that's consumption.
And free range often means that the barn is just open and there's a little fenced area outside that they can go to. So it's not actually. So
it's not really free range.
We're not going to get this deep into it because that's a whole nother subject. So, but now it is time, Meredith. It is time to really put Wendy on the spot.
Okay. Drum roll, please, Wendy. It's time for the Binge Live Rapid Fire Round. You will have 3 seconds to answer the following questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would it be?
Thailand.
Ooh. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Yes, I love that. I would have to see that. Okay, you can only eat one food for the rest of your life. What is it?
Chocolate.
Ooh, love it. Okay, and tell us a fun fact about yourself.
Oh God. Fun fact about myself. I used to be an avid horseback rider.
Love that. And what was the inspiration for creating environmental social justice?
I got tired of people yelling at each other about what they don't know about.
Would you rather climb a mountain or jump out of a plane?
I've done both. I would have to say the mountain wins.
Okay, and give us like your favorite environment saving tip.
Oh, just turn off everything when you leave the house. Just lights, unplug things, because even though it's plugged in, it's still sucking some energy out. So just pull that plug especially if you're going out of town.
Ooh, I like that one. Okay, Rams or Chargers?
I don't do football.
What is your favorite plant or flower?
Oh my God, I love peonies and daffodils and anything like East Coast that I can't get here.
And if you could invent something that would change the world, what would it be?
Oh God, clean energy. Clean, low cost, easy to do energy.
And what is the best advice you've ever been given?
Don't take it personally.
I love it. Great job, Wendy.
Thank you. This was awesome. Thank you guys.
I love that.
So,
I'm impressed too. You've jumped out of planes and climbed mountains.
I don't understand the jumping out of a plane thing.
It was amazing.
I want to do it.
I have the video. If you're on my Facebook, go to videos.
Why? I just don't understand why. Like, why?
For the fun of it, the thrill.
It was amazing. I don't think I'd do it again, but gotta try it once.
Did it.
You gotta try it.
I was at 12,500 feet strapped to an ex-Navy SEAL. I was fine.
See, Joel, you only live once.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And I'm perfectly fine with not jumping out of a plane. That's up there with like bungee jumping and all that stuff. Like,
no, I wouldn't do that. Those break. Ugh.
I just like the whiplash part of it. I'm not about.
Yeah, the whole yanking you back up, and next thing you know, your teeth are on the bottom, and you're up here.
No good coming of this. I'm built for comfort. And that's just the way I roll.
You are built for comfort. That is true.
I really am, and I'm a little bougie, so that's okay. So this was awesome. This was actually really great. So what's the best way for people to get in touch and learn more about yourself, Fashion Productions, and environmental social justice?
So we have the website environmentalsocialjustice.com, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the same handle. So just Google that. It should pop up. You can also Google my name. Not very many Wendy Nystroms out there. Literally like 3 of us, and I found them online. So Google my name and then environmental social justice, and I should pop up. And those are the best ways to find me.
I totally just had a random flashback to college. I'm just going to share this story really quick, but I used to love to embarrass the heck out of Wendy. And I'll never forget one time we were going into a department store and I just started acting like I was this country bumpkin who had never been to a big city. And I was just calling her Wendy, Wendy at the top of my lungs. And then I got to the top of the escalator. And I'm like, Wendy, what is this moving thing? I don't know how to get it. And it was just kind of like, it was just hysterical. And she got so embarrassed. And that was one of the highlights. I think
Was that Lord and Taylor or Sax?
that was probably Lord and Taylor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right there on Boylston. Yep.
I just started running away from him.
I was going to ask about your favorite Jewel memory, and that seems like a pretty good
Oh, I can't share that publicly. You got someone, me too, so it's just mutual respect on that one.
Exactly. Well, Wendy, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. You
Yes.
know,
This was
and-
awesome. Thank you guys. And thank you for supporting ESJ. I appreciate that.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
of
I
course.
love doing ESJ. It's actually, we have some really good conversations with people.
We've got some awesome guests coming up.
Yeah. So everybody tune in, go find it on Facebook right now. We'll try to tag it in the comments, environmental social justice. And I think, Meredith?
Yeah, thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I hope everyone watching did too. And continue to do what you do. You're such a great rock doctor, and we are
Thank you.
happy to have you and to learn from you. And every little bit counts.
Every
So
little bit counts.
thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you guys. This was awesome. This made my day.
Good. Well, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.